welcome everyone. Welcome to our March Fire Safe Council meeting. I think we've reached a good equilibrium of folks joining in today, so we can go ahead and get started. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's March. It's definitely feeling like spring out there, which seems kind of wild because it feels like we hardly had a winter. And I'm sure like many of you, it does make me nervous for fire season, but that's why this group is here, right? To help our communities be as prepared as possible, no matter what nature throws our way. Right. So all that's to say, just thank you all for being here. We'll keep crossing our fingers for more rain, though. We will see. All right, well, before we launch all the way into our agenda today, I do have a great announcement. Just want to make right at the top here. I know I've been talking about it for a while, but we finally hired a new project coordinator, and we are very happy to welcome Yannicka Allen to the Fire Safe Council team. So you can see her square up here as well. So she'll be running most of our residential programs and helping to coordinate these council meetings. And I'm super excited to have her here. She's already been a huge help. I think she's been on for 3 weeks now, 3 or 4. I've lost count, but she's been super helpful. And so I look forward to continuing to grow our programs with her help. So everyone, please do give Yannicka a warm welcome. And Yannicka, if you want to jump in real quick, just give us a quick little intro about yourself too. That'd be great to let folks start to get to know you.
I definitely look forward to getting to know all of you. And like Allison said, it's getting close to 4 weeks, so it's been really nice to get started, and I'm happy to be working on the programs and looking at what more we can do. I'm like Allison, I'm also part-time, but if you want to talk more individually, it will be great to get to know all of you over time.
Great. Well, thanks, Yannicka. Super glad you're here. And
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that being said, let's actually go and launch into our agenda. First up is public comment. If anyone has any announcements or comments that are not on the meeting agenda, now is your time to jump in and take the mic. Ooh, I see Mario. You raised your hand.
I did. First of all, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Morning.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I have a conflict and I'm only going to be here for half an hour. So if there is a desire to hear CDFW updates, I need to do that before the top of the hour.
Sure. Yeah, I wonder if maybe we should hear from you now then before the presentation.
Okay.
If that works for everyone. Yeah.
Either way is fine.
I want to make sure we can. Sure.
Looks like I have sun going down here. Here we go. Maybe a little better. So as you guys know, we have been working along Marysville Road. And we're making good progress. We're running into the same situation that I think CAL FIRE has already run into, and we are running into as an agency, and that CCC is running into as an agency as well, which is basically that we're having a very hard time hiring people to do this kind of work. The CCC crews are smaller than they usually are, and the crews within CAL FIRE, the inmate crews are barely available to us anymore because of the fact that there's so many other projects. And at one point in time, they had significantly more crews than they have right now. So what we're going to do actually is the crew is starting to get a little burned out on this project because we've been working on it for a long time. And we were concerned about attrition. So we're actually going to switch it off a little bit. We're going to start on the project in Butte County. which is a different project. And then we're going to come back in a couple of weeks to finish it up. We've done our bird nesting surveys that need to be done through CEQA requirements once a week, so that we can continue. What we do is we clear a section out for nesting birds, making sure that there's no birds in the area, and then we continue. We should be able to finish within another 3 or 4 weeks of work. So there's going to be a break, but 3 or 4 weeks. We should be able to finish this before the end of April sometime. So that means that the fire break that's along Marysville Road should be completed. We've been working, and we had great collaboration with the county because there were a lot of trees that were closer to the road, and the only way to actually get rid of them is to actually fall them into the road and then quickly remove them. They were doing traffic control for us, and I think that was a great mutually beneficial, obviously project, because otherwise it would have been very likely that they had to respond to it at one point or another when a tree would be down on the road, and then people couldn't get by. So I think for those of you who haven't been there, when you drive through there next time, take a peek. I think it looks a lot better. I think that when folks have to evacuate from there, it would be a much more safe route. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is that we're actually working with CAL FIRE on another project. For those of you who are familiar with that area, and I don't have a map to show you, but since most of you guys are from that area, I'm assuming that I can kind of just refer to kind of landmarks, and hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm assuming you guys know where Collins Lake is. There is from Collins Lake, there actually is a gravel road that links all the way to the UC Field Station. It's a couple miles long, a few miles long actually. And we're in the process with CAL FIRE. We're doing the CEQA for it right now to essentially create a fire break along that road, to regrade that road. We'll do that ourselves and potentially put some new gravel out, so that if for some reason Marysville Road does become blocked, or we need fire equipment access into that hill, which is going to at some point get on fire again, that we have easy access in there, or easier access in there, and we can get equipment in there without dealing with all kinds of ruts and broken culverts and whatever else that are currently problematic. So that's been added to our scope. And it's interesting to mention this here, just because in your introduction you were talking about the drought that's been going on. We are also currently preparing ourselves for drought from a wildlife agency. You can imagine that when it comes to all the animals that are reliant on drought, as well as the habitats, we're currently starting to plan and kicking off a big project in that space as well, of how to retain water, and which wells we can use, which ones we can use more, so that we can continue to have habitat for waterfowl and anadromous fish, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the update for us. And if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to take them at this time.
Great, thanks Mario for those
right.
updates.
Yep, Mario,
Great.
I've seen the work to date. It looks great. It's terrific. It's good news about the road going out to the field station as well. Question, were you planning on treating some of the burn material along Loma Rica Road as well?
Along Loma Rica Road. So along Loma Rica Road, so there's basically a section from Marysville Road just before you get to that development. What is it called? Sugarloaf. There is some in there that we've been planning to do as well. Some of that material is much more coarse. We already did this on the backside of. So if you go past Los Vergeles, I know that maybe not everybody can follow me, but if you go past Los Vergeles, then there's a little bit of a development on the right-hand side as well. The homes behind there, we already put a fire break behind them. And we are working with CAL FIRE, and Sean knows about this too, by the way. We've been working with CAL FIRE in the area you're talking about, is to essentially have the dozer line reinstalled. We do that every year. To make sure that it's easier to address this. So if there is a need to do more at Loma Rica, we can certainly do some more there as well and add that to the project.
Yeah, it looks great.
So, Thank you.
John, did I see you have a raised hand? Is that a question for Mario?
Yeah,
Or
just
we
real
let
quick,
him go?
Mario, while you guys are working on that one between Collins Lake and the field station sequence, are you also going to include the piece that comes from Donovan Road and ties in with that road? Comes across the field from that direction in the sequence, so in the event they got the opportunity, they can work on that one also?
Yes. So you are actually quite familiar with that place. So if you go to the big parking lot that's on Dolan Harding Road, there's a road that starts there and then goes past the irrigation ditch, follows kind of the power lines, and then there's a low water crossing in Dry Creek. That road ties into that. So that piece is included in this. Let me see whether I can find a map. I might not be able to pull that up immediately while I'm speaking, but what I can do, if you guys are interested, I can pull that map up in a second and I can share my screen and you can take a quick peek at it and have an idea as to what we're talking about. Would people like me to do that? That I pull up the map and share it, or is that something that we can do next time? What would you like, guys?
If you can find it fairly quickly, yeah, I think we can do that. And maybe while you're looking, is there anyone else? We still are technically in public comment, so anyone else with public comment who'd like to jump in while Mario's looking for the map?
Allison, this is Art. Is it possible to ask Mario another question?
Oh, yes,
Sure.
of course.
Is it possible to get shape files for the roads in the areas you're planning on working on?
For Marysville Road, yes. For internal roads, I would have to think about that for a moment. And the reason why is because they're not open to the public by vehicle right now. So they're basically for emergency routes only and for CAL FIRE to be able to do treatments. So it depends on what the purpose of the shapefile is, but I would not want this to get into a situation where we're asking people to drive in there or whatever, because that's not what these roads were intended for, other than if there's an emergency.
No, actually, my purpose in wanting to get it was to tie it together with the shape files for the roads that we have for the Sierra Foothill Research and Extension Center.
Okay.
Just to get a really good idea and pass it on with the current director down there, Dustin Flavel.
Yeah, Justin and I have talked about this. It's already been some time ago. We've also talked about it with BVID, because BVID runs a pipeline underneath that road from Collins Lake directly to the field station so that they can do irrigation there for their irrigated pastures. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't do any damage to that. Sure, but I mean, maybe we can touch bases offline and see what the objectives are in terms of sharing information. I don't have any concern with that. I just want to make sure that like I said, we're not advertising this as a place where the public can go, because it causes sometimes concerns in that regard.
Absolutely, thanks. I'll contact you separately.
Okay. I have so many documents open right now that I'm struggling a little bit finding it quickly, but let's see.
Well, no rush. If you can't find it, we can certainly do it next time too.
Yeah, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll share my screen here in a minute so I can answer, or I can send a map to you, Sean, if you can email me, Sean, and I can email you the map.
Yeah, and if you want to send something, we can include it when we send out the minutes if that's a format that works for you.
That's fine.
Great. Okay, well, thanks Mario for the update. Glad we could squeeze you in before the top of the hour. Let's see, were we done on public comment? Gabe, I saw your number in the chat. Did you want to jump in real quick before you have to take off? Or
sure. I don't have much of an update this month. It's sort of a continuation of everything we talked about last month. The main, we just sent a response for fire suppression over to the El Dorado for a escaped prescribed fire over by Volcanoville. And then we've got the reason I'm jumping off is we've got a district meeting regarding our move of the district office to Nevada City. So we're ironing out some details, and I know some of you folks were in that community meeting a few weeks ago about that move. So we're kind of ironing out some of those details. But unless folks have questions for me, I don't have much of an update this month.
Gabe, this is Kathy. I'm
Hey,
glad to hear
Kathy.
that. I'm glad to hear that meeting is taking place. Right on. Please let me know if you can. I'll follow up on that if it's something that the general public would like to know. Okay, thank
You
you
got it.
so much.
You got it, Kathy.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Gabe.
All right.
All right. Well, we did things a little bit out of order today, but glad we could catch you guys before you have to take off. So we will jump back up to our special presentation for today. Really happy to have Louise Miller here. She is the school principal at Yes Charter Academy in Oregon House. So Louise is here going to talk to us today about the school's current projects, including their new high school that they are working to set up. And I think I will leave it at that and just let Louise take it from there. So again, thanks Louise for being here. And I believe we gave you screen sharing ability. Let us know what you need.
Okay, it looks like I have it. That's good.
Awesome.
Thank you. So I get screen sharing done. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm so glad to see people I know and to get to meet some new people too. I want to invite you, before I forget, to Earth Day at Yes Charter. So Yuba Environmental Science Charter Academy is a free public school that serves kindergarten through 8th grade children. We also have a 0 through 5 program funded by First Five, and it's called Kids Outdoors. The theme is Kids Outdoors. It's called ABC Sprout, and the kids spend most of the day outdoors. But our focus is environmental science. And so Earth Day is our biggest celebration of the year. It's where the classes show all of their work on their environmental science theme for the year, and where we invite outside agencies that are related to environmental science to come and set up a booth. So I'm going to put my email address, or my school website, and also my email address in the chat. And we will also get this out to the public soon, inviting public agencies that are related to environmental science to set up a booth. So any of you are welcome to set up a booth at our Earth Day celebration. And that will be on a Saturday from 10 to 2. And I'll also get this information out in writing to the public April 23rd. So the day after Earth Day, we're going to have this event at Yes Charter. I was really glad to follow Mario, because he talked about some things that Yes Charter is also involved in. For example, collaboration. We collaborate, for example, with Blue Forest. We have an air quality sensor on our roof from Blue Forest. We collaborate with Yuba Water Agency. We have a teacher who is working on the curriculum for the watershed lessons. We've also been active in the committee to select a site and to design the site. Also, I'm a volunteer wildfire mitigation review person. I really enjoyed that role in our community. And part of that is I want our students to be able to do that in the future, and also to provide community service by helping people harden their homes and prepare their property for wildfire. So a bit of history of Yes. Yes Charter has been a free public school for the past 14 years, serving kindergarten through 8th grade students in Yuba County and contiguous counties. Our focus is environmental science, but we teach all of the California state standards in reading, math, science, social studies, and so forth. We're located here in Oregon House, just down the street from the Alcoof Center, where we used to meet in person. And we are responding to public desire to have a high school here in the foothills. It's also a personal desire. I was one of those kids back in the 70s who got on the bus in Oregon House and had to ride winding around all the way to Marysville High School, and then at the end of the day, ride home. It made for a really long day. And so we would like to serve the kids right here in our own community. We also have a plan, in case kids want to come from the valley, to have a direct route. So we want CTE, Career Technical Education vans, to bring them straight here and not have to wind through and pick up lots and lots of other stops on the way. So we really do want to be full service for our community and also offer something exciting in career technical education for Yuba County high school students. So, because of that, we started researching how to start a high school. And it's, you know, there's a lot to it, but basically from surveying the employers in the community by looking at what is driving the economy here in the foothills, we see that it is forest resiliency projects. That is really driving the economy here. And those are the jobs that are needed. And I did hear Mario talk about not having, you know, enough staff for his projects. And we want to be part of that solution. We also want our students to be part of the economy here and to be the drivers of that, to have the living wage jobs and to help make the decisions that affect their community. So we're really looking at building capacity and building our community long term. So with that vision, we selected 3 CTE or career technical education pathways. And those are first and foremost, forestry and natural resources. And that falls under the agricultural umbrella, but forestry and natural resources pathway will take place during the student's science class. So when they're in freshman biology, they're also in year 1 of forestry and natural resources. And it's not like a high school where you get a smorgasbord of choices. It's going to be a small high school, so every student will move through as a cohort. So every student will be getting their A through G requirements, you know, college prep requirements, plus 3 career technical education certifications. So during science class, it will be forestry and natural resources. During English class, it will be entrepreneurship. And why did we choose entrepreneurship? Well, we see that in order to take part in this economy, we need to learn how to scale. We need to learn how to write a business plan. We need to learn how to scale. And then entrepreneurship, it's also a lot of self-reflection. What am I good at? What do I want out of life? And so that will take place during the English course. So in freshman English, they will also be getting year 1 of entrepreneurship. Our third pathway is arts, media, and entertainment. And underneath that umbrella, it's the visual design component. So yes, we do have a history of filmmaking. We've had films for the past 4 years at the Wild and Scenic, and we are teaching our students right now. Our middle school students are studying animation, and they are producing their own films. We also have collaborated with Camdenville Community Partnership and the Watershed Protection Fire Safe Council to produce 2 very fun public service announcements about being ready for wildfire. If you haven't seen them yet, they're a treat, especially the second one. Funny, funny stuff. But also, you know, tells people how to prepare for an evacuation or to harden their home. So back to our high school program. Our goal is to start in the fall. And we're in the process of petitioning our authorizers, who are Yuba County Office of Education. And they've been involved in the process all along. This is not a surprise. So we want to open 9th and 10th grade next year here at the Yes Charter campus. And we're going to do that by putting 2 more portables here. We do have a piece of property in escrow. I should say that our developer has a piece of property in escrow to build out a regular high school, a freestanding high school, not on this campus. And that property is on the corner of Frenchtown Road and Marysville Road. So it's a beautiful, like hilltop, great views. And it kind of goes behind the Oregon House post office, if you can envision that area. It's that crossroads where if you turn down into the valley, you get to Oregon House Grocery. And if you turn up, you go up to Brownsville. So it's 8 miles down the road from Brownsville, corner of Frenchtown and Marysville Road. So it's in a long escrow so that our developer could get through the environmental study and the cultural study. And we're moving on now to actually designing the buildings and the layout of the high school. So that's where we are in our process. And I have a short video that we're going to be putting on our website for people to see kind of our plan for the high school. And so bear with me. I've done screen sharing a couple of times, but it's always an interesting process. So I'm going to go to my inbox here. Oh, wait, I'm going to go open this. That. And now I'm going to go
Welcome to
to
Yuba Environmental Science Charter Academy, also known as YES Charter. Students in kindergarten through 8th grade have been doing hands-on project.
Are you seeing the video?
Based learning at YES. for
We're
children.
seeing your email, Louise.
Seeing my email. Not good, not good.
We are poised to grow. Yes,
Not
staff
doing
and
it.
community
Okay.
volunteers have been planning and
Sorry,
preparing.
Can't hear the video though.
Years.
Okay,
Yes,
you can hear the
students
video.
are
Let me stop
authorized
this.
by the County Office of Education to add
Oh,
grades
dear,
9
dear,
and 10 in the fall of 2022. Yes, students have already benefited from collaborations
dear.
with environmental leaders in forestry and natural resources. Yes, middle school students piloted the fireworks curriculum with Dr. Kate Wilkin, University of California Extension, Forestry and Natural Resources. Dr. Kate Wilkins.
I'm so sorry. Let me try again. You can hear the video but not see it. So let me try that again. So I've opened the video. And now I need to go back to screen share. Okay, let me go here.
Welcome.
Oh, you got it.
Is it showing?
Good
Yes.
job.
Yep.
Yes, Charter. Students in kindergarten through 8th grade have been doing hands-on project-based learning at YES for 14 years. YES is the original public environmental science school in Yuba County, and we are poised to grow. YES staff and community volunteers have been planning and preparing to build YES High School for over 2 years. YES is petitioning our authorizers, Yuba County Office of Education, to add grades 9 and 10 in the fall of 2022. Yes, students have already benefited from collaborations with environmental leaders in forestry and natural resources. Yes, middle school students piloted the fireworks curriculum with Dr. Kate Wilkin, University of California Extension, Forestry and Natural Resources. Dr. Kate Wilkin says YES was a vital collaborator in the development of the Oak Woodlands Firewise curriculum. They tested new lessons and helped us to refine existing lessons. They also served as a hub to educate teachers from other schools in the curriculum. YES has surveyed leaders in forestry and natural resources, such as the United States Forest Service, Yuba Water Agency, as well as Blue Forest over the past 2 years to identify needs and opportunities. The co-founder and chief scientist of Blue Forest, Dr. Phil Saxa, said, "We here at Blue Forest are very excited to see YES expand into a high school career technical education pathway in forestry and natural resources. Forest resiliency work is projected to continue for decades. Dr. Kate Wilkin says this program will help prepare students to solve the dual crisis of forest health and wildfire in their own North Yuba watershed. We believe in our youth. We know that provided the tools and training, our youth will become the leaders of the important forest resiliency work happening right here in our community. Find out more about plans for YES High School at yescharteracademy.org. YES High School. Our children, building our community's future, investing in Yuba County's youth.
Okay. So that's our video. We're going to put that on our website, and I did share out the website, and I'm also going to share out my email address, lmiller@yescharteracademy.org. Yes. If you have any questions, Charter. Okay. Any questions or comments about our program, our plans, Earth Day. I'm ready to answer questions.
Hi, Louise, great to see you. Very excited about your plans. It just sounds terrific. How many students are you anticipating in your initial startup?
Thanks for asking. So we budgeted low because we're very fiscally conservative, but we have higher expectations. So in our school budget that we're presenting to YCOE, we said 10 sophomores and 15 freshmen. So for next year, we would like to have more than that, but that's what we can balance our budget with that many students. We do expect more. And so we can have up to start with, we could have up to 20 freshmen, 20 sophomore, a total of 40. We will have space for 40 kids. But we do plan for that to grow, especially as we move on to the new campus. We can grow, and our estimate is like around 300 total kids for all 4 years. And that's once we'll take that first cohort, and those 10th graders we'll open 11th grade the next year, and then by that next year we'll have all 4 high school grades. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions or even comments? Okay. Is there anyone from an agency who's thinking about the possibility of having a booth and to share out information to the public on Earth Day?
Yeah, CCP is. I'm thinking we may come and share about our Forest Biomass Business Center.
Oh, fabulous. That would be wonderful, Kathy. That biomass is such an important part of the economy and also part of the forest resiliency. So, and it's surprising that not everyone knows about it. It's top of my list for exciting things in Yuba County. So I'd like, that would be wonderful, Kathy.
Right on. We'll see you there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Louise, this is Beverly. If I can arrange it, I'd like to have a small setup for not only the wildfire mitigation, but some of the other things that Fire Safety Council is doing that would lend itself, and also potentially talk to people about the impact of having the Oregon Peak Lookout available to watch over the community.
Absolutely. And you know, from our new site, we were walking it the other day, and Dawn Kundart, our secretary, said, "This is my view," and it's looking straight at Oregon Peak Lookout. So from the top of the hill, we can see you. Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, great. Well, thank you. That concludes my sharing out, unless there are other questions. Oh, there is one more thing I'd like to share. So currently, we've been building for this for years, and I'll just give you an example of how we've built towards this for years, and that is that every class has an environmental science focus that they work on for the entire year. And so starting with kindergarten, they get a smorgasbord. They're kindergartners. They do a lot of fun things. But first grade focuses on endangered species, and they're planting pollinator-friendly plants plus milkweed along our native plant trail. Second grade focus in social studies is farm to fork. And so they're doing a farm to school program where they have a hen house and a garden, and they have a little pizza garden, and they make pizza with the herbs that they grew in their garden. Third and fourth is a combination class, and their focus in social studies is Native Americans' use of natural resources. Their year-long driving question is, how did Native Americans live sustainably in California for 10,000 years? And they are also working on the native plant trail. They're planting deer grass, redbud. We also have an elderberry stand, and they're learning how Native Americans used fire to manage the landscape and also to manage basket making materials, and they are learning basket making. The fifth graders teacher is the one who works with Yuba Water Agency on the curriculum. So she has been piloting that curriculum with them, the watershed curriculum, and her other project is native hummingbirds. So along the native plant trail, she's planting, or her class is selecting and planting plants for native hummingbirds. Sixth grade is focusing on drought and water issues. And so that prepares them really for this forestry and natural resources. They're going to be releasing a weather balloon, and they're doing research on drought and water issues. Seventh and eighth grade is a combination class. Their focus for the year is fire, and they're using the curriculum that you saw that Kate Wilkham piloted with us a few years ago, that fire safe, fire wise, and I get it confused. But anyway, that fire curriculum, they're using that, and the kids really enjoy it. It is fire science. And then they're also looking at forestry management issues. So that is kind of like how we've been building toward transitioning to high school. So that really does conclude my presentation. Thank you so much.
Louise, really good job. Thank you very much. If I have the pleasure of serving on the board for Yes Charter Academy. It's been enlightening and hopeful as to what our youth are involved in right now. It's been a really rough couple of years. So I really feel uplifted whenever I'm on the campus. With that in mind, we would love your support, whether it be word of mouth or in person. Please feel free to ask questions. I think our community has really wanted and needed a high school for many, many years. We want to make this one special. And Louise is working really hard to create a school that fits the kids instead of kids having to fit a school. So whatever you can do to help us, word of mouth, email, sharing information, we really appreciate it. Thanks, Louise.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Louise. Yeah, this is fantastic. I'm super excited about this project and a little jealous. I wish I want to go to school there. A little late, but yeah, thank you, and continue to keep us updated too as you move forward. So
Allison, we might have after school programs in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, you can, like Beverly said, you can definitely count us in for Earth Day too. We'll coordinate on that, but looking forward to it.
And Allison, you can be a speaker for all those students because of your, experience in all of this. You're very valued. Right on.
Thanks for volunteering me, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Louise.
Awesome. Well, any other questions for Louise before we move on? Great. All right. Well, thanks again, Louise. Yeah, let's move on in the agenda then to our partner reports. So first up on the list, we have the Plumas National Forest.
All right. Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Jason Vermillion. Certainly wanted to be here. He's on a field trip right now, looking at the work that we're doing collaboratively in Yuba County. So that's where he's at. As far as updates for what we've been up to, it's obviously our, ideally would be our prescribed fire season. We're kind of in an interesting bind right now where in our lower elevation lands, it's in many places it's too dry to burn. We've now gone something like close to 60 days, I think, without really appreciable moisture on a lot of areas. And then in our higher elevations, because it's still been cold up there, they're still bound in snow. So it's kind of fun. We can't do anything up high and we can't do much down low either. So as far as burning goes, so we get out and try to put some smoke in the air when we can, but it's been pretty minimal last couple of weeks, unfortunately. However, the dry weather has meant that a lot of mechanical work has continued during times when that would not have been possible, previous years. And so we've been doing a lot of work. Our Forest Service guys, our dozer guys, since they're not on fires, obviously, they're doing their mastication around Forbes-town right now, and they've been doing a lot of work there. If you take that Forbes-town road, in Forbes-town itself, you can see where they've really opened up right next to town where we have land, and that looks really great. And then larger scale, we've got Moortown Rancheria is doing a lot of mechanical work north of Challenge, in other spots too, but right now they're north of Challenge and moving to the east, I guess, northeast along LaPorte Road. And we'll see if I can share a screen. I don't know, but I have a couple of photos. Yeah, of one site. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay, that's okay. But there's one spot where they have done a considerable amount of work north of Challenge.
You might be able to share your screen now. I just changed a setting on yours.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so this is just north of Challenge. There we go. Just north of Challenge. So let me see. Okay. So if you can see that, these are, oops. These are the pre-photos that I took. This was a few weeks ago. I went up there and took these. So just a typical what our land looks like when it hasn't had anything done to it in a while. So overgrown with a lot of, actually not that much conifer saplings or anything. It's mostly tan oak coming up in the understory here. And then I went out there just a couple of days ago and couldn't even find the exact same location because so much material had been removed. And I didn't monument it, but this is within a few feet of that area. And so you can see it's completely blown open. These places where, like in these top, the north and the east photos, the top two photos across, you can see it's a little bit denser. There's a drainage right there. And so they didn't actually drive a machine into the creek, but otherwise, yeah, completely wide open. And you can see on this west photo down here, bottom right, that's the boundary of where the treated and untreated is. So they're moving into that wall of trees that makes up kind of the background of that photo. So that work's super exciting for us. It's on a larger scale than a lot of stuff that we've seen in the challenge area in a little while. And hopefully within a few years, we'll be able to go back and burn some of that once the mastication has decomposed a bit. So that's kind of where we're at. When we get windows, we're going to burn more, and we're just going to keep grinding away on our lands, particularly around our wildland urban interface. I think that's all I've got. That's in the report for me, unless there's any questions, which I may or may not be able to answer, but I can certainly write down.
Great, thanks, Eric. Any questions for Eric? Awesome.
Just a comment. I drove past there yesterday and that looks really good up there. Great job, guys.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, thanks for all that awesome work. All right, nothing else, we can keep moving. We heard from the Tahoe, we heard from Gabe before he had to jump off. So let's move on to CAL FIRE. I see Jim is here with us. Possibly. All right, Jim, maybe Jim had to step away for a bit. We can come back to him, but let's see, moving on. We also heard from Fish and Wildlife from Mario earlier before he jumped off as well. I don't see Supervisor Fletcher on. Is that correct? I guess we have a couple phone numbers. So if I start to skip over anyone, please do just jump in. But John Stone, I see you here from OES.
Yep, as you can see from my background, we've had an outbreak of volcanoes, so that's pretty worrisome. now I've been doing FEMA classes nonstop for 2 weeks and started getting bored with my background. So on our end, going forward, Oregon Peak, getting battery backups up there, you know, in the event of PSPS's, wildfires, extended outages, that's moving forward. Also installing FirstNet for radio retrans that the Hills deputies will be able to use for improved communications. We've applied for an HF radio grant, installing HF antennas here, and then further up, possibly up at Oregon Peak at the very least, out at the sheriff's office posse grounds. Just better, you know, more redundant communications. Obviously, any radio traffic going through the foothills is kind of spotty, so we're trying to double down on that. We're identifying some of the CRCs with PG&E for the PSPSs. There'll be an exercise with them coming up next month. Our Prepare Fair is still on for May 19th. Our new planner, Sarah Baguette, maiden name Sodaro, is coming on. Her family's like 5th generation farmer, running the Sodaro farms and run the Peach Fair, so she knows the Valley area pretty well. So we'll probably be seeing a lot of you in the next month as we start doing meet and greets now that COVID's kind of waning a little bit and getting our faces out there. And on the watershed end, trying to finalize the exercise. It'll probably be in October. Joint Yuba County Sutter flood exercise. We're still working on phase 2 of real-time inundation mapping for the watershed areas. And we are going forward with the Yuba Feather forecast coordination operations that's going on between us, Army Corps of Engineers, the Water Agency, DWR, for a planned exercise later on in the year as well. And that's about it. That's all I got for the month.
John, where's that Prepare Fair going to be?
So that's going to be at the Alcoof Center.
Okay. Do you have times?
It's looking like I think about 1,700. Our PIOs are finalizing everything. They're going to work out the parking and everything like that. But I think we're looking at a 1,700.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, John. Any questions for John? Awesome. All right, let's move back up, try CAL FIRE again. It sounds like Jim is just having some.
I'm here. Can you hear me this time?
Yes. Yes. We
Okay,
can.
super. Thanks for all the help. Hey, my internet connection is a little slow for some reason. I don't know why. So I'm calling in on the phone, but I have been able to see most of your photos and presentations. So thanks for all that. Jim Mathias, Nevada Yuba Placer North Division. Just to continue on a little bit with the dry weather talk that we've been having. I think everybody put in a lot of good points, and I don't want to assume that everybody knows everything I know. So I'll just pass along a little bit more information on that dry weather. You know, we think about the snowfall that we had in late December, which damaged a lot of already drought-stressed and drought-weakened trees up in the foothills area. And so a lot of those trees were pretty dry and didn't really have very much water in them anyway, and that's why the limbs broke under the snow weight. And so now we have just a lot of that dead fuel down on the ground that would normally be vertical, and it's now horizontal. And a lot of that stuff is pretty dry. It's almost ready. You know, normally you have to season firewood for a couple of seasons, but this stuff started out dry. And so the very long periods of time that we've had without any rain have contributed to some real problems there as well. So what we're getting is just a lot of really dry fuels out there, with all that vertical stuff turning to horizontal and creating possible jackpots and all that other stuff. We've also had a ton of very poor humidity recovery. If you can think back to how many times you went and got in your car this winter and it was an iced up windshield, it's nowhere near to where it's been in the past several years. So we've had poor humidity recovery, long periods of dry, 40 to 50 days without rain. So basically it's putting us at energy release components, potential BTUs that a fire could cause at about June levels. So That's just really not good for us. So how we're reacting to that is that we're talking about transitional staffing, which is, we're going to add a few fire engines to the mix. It's looking like April 11th. It's very dynamic, has to do with a lot of things, state budget, fuels, conditions, activity that we're seeing, that sort of stuff. But we're planning on hiring firefighters and starting to put engines back in stations on April 11th. And it could go forward or backwards a week or two. We'll see how that goes. And then we'll see when we get to peak staffing. But transitional staffing starting in early April. Next item is that we had all the fire prevention grants. We're past the submission date for that. They're all in review. We'll see how many we got submitted for Yuba County and what the plan is with those. And I'm going to lean real hard on getting some Yuba County money this year. I think that we've been pretty successful in a couple of our other counties, and I want to make sure that whatever grants were put in for Yuba County, if they make operational sense, that we kind of try to back you folks up. So we'll see what we can get done there. I'm certainly not the king of the castle when it comes to grant approvals, but I have a little bit of influence. I'll do what I can for you. And last for me is that, with the wind event that we're expecting a little bit later today, I kind of hope you pass the word to make sure your fires are good and out tonight. Tomorrow we're gonna go with a no burn day because of the wind event that we're expecting tomorrow, but I expect to lift that no burn day and allow people to burn again on Friday. But just for the safety of everybody, I think it's good to go without a burn, just one burn day, and that way it'll open up for the weekends and we won't have to be chasing fires around all day tomorrow and possibly doing damage to people's homes and structures and things like that. So that's where I'm at, unless there's any other questions in the report.
Great, thanks, Jim. And yeah, thanks again for your support on the fire prevention grant. We do have one in there, and like I saw Joanna put in the chat, it is definitely a good one. So
okay, I'll do what I can.
Fantastic, thank you. Any questions for Jim?
I have
All
a
right.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Ronnie.
This is Ronnie. When you say no burn day, does that mean burning logs and debris and stuff, or does it mean even people's having fires going on inside their homes, fireplaces?
Yeah, just the dooryard burning, reducing the fuels. It's going to be cold tomorrow. I don't think I would ever consider not allowing you to heat your homes. I don't think we even have control over that if I wanted to do something about that. So yeah, it has nothing to do with home heating in your fireplace. It just has to do with reducing fuels and open burning outside.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, thanks again, Jim. Thanks for those updates. All right, where are we on the list here now? I think Yuba County CDSA. I don't see anyone from there today, or Public Works. Speak up if I'm missing you on the screen there, but or the Sheriff's Department. I don't believe they're here either. So that means next up is Yuba Water Agency. See a couple folks here. Do you guys have any updates for the group?
I have a couple. They're not agency specific, but there's actually a couple of funding opportunities I just wanted to talk about. So the first one, can you hear me okay, Allison?
Yes, all good.
Yeah, sorry, Zoom's been a little weird for me today. It wouldn't let me in for a long time. Okay, so the first one is a new funding initiative called the Community Economic Resilience Fund. I was on a meeting yesterday where this was presented, and what this is the state is using kind of COVID-19 recovery money to try to spur economic development resilience across the state. And that can mean a whole bunch of things, but particularly watershed resilience, forest health, biomass, energy development kind of projects would very much fit this program. The complicated nature of this is that Yuba County is in the Sacramento funding area. So that means, Yuba County and Upper Yuba County has different needs than Lower Yuba County, and as you move towards Sacramento. So the funding initiative and coordination within a region that's diverse like that could be a little bit complicated, but I really think the Fire Safe Council and any other entities on this call that can engage with that program really should, because it really could help get money for programs that we're all really interested in. Interestingly, so Yuba County itself is in one funding area. Our Upper Watershed is actually in a different funding area. So it's possible that we could engage in two funding areas for things that would actually directly benefit our communities. So it's called CERF, CERF. There's 5 million in planning, which is a lot in planning, and then 500 million in implementation per funding area. So it's big money. There needs to be a coordinator for that whole region. So identifying those coordinators that can work at that scale is a process, but there's going to be an RFP coming out for a coordinator. And I just wanted to alert everybody to start to track that and engage if you're capable of engaging with it, because I really think it could bring significant money into Upper Yuba County and foothills issues in terms of business development and the right kinds of businesses. And that's definitely what this money is intended to do. So anyway, that's really just an FYI to start tracking. I'm going to track it too, and I'll send you information on it, but I just wanted to alert everybody about that program because it could be a really great new way to bring money into the foothills. And then the other thing I wanted to, I'm sure you all are aware of the new CAL FIRE Workforce and Business Development Grant Program. That grant program is really tied to money for businesses to get equipment and hire people and build their capacity to do forest health type work. And that is a constant problem. Workforce and labor is a constant problem that we have for our projects. There just literally are not enough people working in this industry, as we know. So if anybody has any ideas of a project and they're private company, they're not quite sure about grants, the Earworm team is starting to develop projects with stakeholders in Yuba County for this grant program. So if you're kind of curious or interested or wondering, please reach out to me and I'll direct you to Carrie Rennie and our Earworm team that she can talk to you about it. She's working with a specific stakeholder that was working on a forest health grant on this grant program. So she'll have a little bit more inside information now. Those are, I believe it's an ongoing application deadline. I think it's a lower lift than normal grant applications. And it really is, open to private business, which a lot of grants usually aren't. So if you're not familiar with that grant program and you think somebody should be looking at it, please send it to them or send them to me and I can get them in the loop on what that grant program is all about. It's new, so, and it's different. And I just want to make sure that we're getting access to as much funding as possible to build our capacity.
There we go. Great, thanks, Joanna. Yeah, the CAL FIRE Business and Workforce Development grant, CCP is looking into that grant for the biomass facility. But yeah, certainly, it's I think a great fit for a lot of local businesses. So.
Joanna, this is Kathy. There are some smaller tree service work groups that are interested in breaking into this field. Would they be someone who could connect with you about this workforce business development as well?
Yeah, they can, especially if they're, they would need to be operating in Yuba County and they would need to sort of demonstrate to us that they would be supporting sort of our local projects. But absolutely, like, the entity we're already working with is a private company that is supporting our forest health work. So they could connect with me and at least, talk to Carrie a little bit about the process, understand the forms. If they put a project into the Earworm plan, which they could maybe work with a partner to get their project into the Earworm plan, even a small project like $25,000 bit of equipment or something, or some training, there really isn't anything too small, because for private companies, that's a big lift, even that amount of money, even though it sounds like a small grant, would be, let's talk about it sort of and figure out the right process to get it into the plan so that I can leverage the Earworm team's work on it.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Joanna. Creighton, did you have anything? Also, I saw you join. Didn't want to.
No, nothing to add on that.
Sounds good. Is it true? Is the Yuba Water Agency's, what is it called? Community. Oh, you're gonna have to help me. Community Resilience Grant.
Community Impact Grant and Loan Program.
Yeah, thank you. Is that open right now? Is it?
That's open for projects that, capacity building projects or projects that haven't identified other funding, or even if you had, it's open now. It's always open if you're looking for cost share for an external funding source. But our window for non-leveraging grants is open now, and it closes April 1.
Okay, perfect.
And just to be clear, that is getting more and more competitive each round. So if you do put in an application, please answer those questions thoroughly.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Joanna and Creighton for being here. Let's see, next up, we have Beale Air Force Base. I don't see Tony on the list here today. So we can keep going. Is Gary here today?
Actually, no, he's on a RCD call, so I'm gonna cover his spots.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you want to go ahead, give Gary's report.
Okay, so Oregon Peak, we've actually just been contacted by CAL FIRE Prevention to start meeting the middle of March. We haven't actually gotten a date. There's a couple of dates in the hopper. To start going over the needs of the lookout, a few other things that were left on the table last year. So we'll be working with Captain Mertens, and I think we have a new prevention person there as well that we'll be working with. We had another one of the lookouts, Bill High, who has been kind of our backup. He's going to sort of take the lead this coming year, but we'll still be there to support him, just so that, there's more than one person doing the job, because sometimes you have to have a break. And so we'll be meeting with prevention middle of March to start getting new people trained and paperwork done, so that we can be ready to go when necessary. And after hearing the transitional staffing date that Jim just gave us, I think it's really good that we're getting ahead of this thing. We had a appreciation barbecue, thanks to the monies from CHI through the auxiliary that we put on for the lookouts as an appreciation. And I think it was a good time also to visit with everybody and kind of take the temperature on what worked last year, what didn't work, and just how everybody was feeling about coming back. And I think we have a really good carryover for this year as far as people who are willing to do lookout. We have a couple new people who either weren't with us last year for various reasons, will be coming back, and maybe some new people. And we're hoping to get some of the cadets from Dobbins Oregon House that might be interested in training and being up there. So I think we're looking at a pretty good staffing for this next year, which I'm very happy for, because we did pretty well, but we still had some gaps at times when we needed people up there. So that's pretty much Oregon Peak. Any questions?
Yeah, Beverly, this is Kathy. Can you talk a little bit more about the cadets from Dobbins Oregon House? Are they working with the fire department there, or?
Yeah, they're part of I guess their training, their understudies, for lack of a better term, but they work with the fire department, and they're getting the same training. And there had been a request just prior to COVID for them to be able to come up and even just do an observation. And of course, that kind of all had to go on the back burner. But I'm hoping that this year that a couple of those guys that maybe were interested, we can get up there. I think we're still bound, but we'll get that clarified. We're still bound by, if they're under 18, they have to be accompanied by a parent and or another adult that's willing to be responsible. So there's still that what we're trying to work out with the prevention group. But I think they said there were 2 of them that were interested, and we just have to hopefully maybe get them up there to do a look around prior to training and paperwork and all that stuff, so that we can get them on board. But they're the ones that put up the red flags for us, at least in the Dobbins Organ House area. They take responsibility for that. And they also work with the Dobbins Organ House. And I think Art's gone, but he could probably talk a little bit more about that if he were still here. And that might be something to just to share with people next month about what their skill levels are. Pam, you had a question, or you had something to?
It's a question. Beverly, do we have something along the lines of a PSA or maybe an annual, not an if you remember, I mentioned I have a couple new neighbors that were interested, but they didn't feel comfortable crashing our luncheon. Is there?
They should have.
Is there any kind of gathering we could consider doing to talk to we have a lot of new people in our neighborhood, believe it or not. And I'd like to capture them and bring them to one place kind of at one time, just with Oregon Peak volunteerism as the subject matter. Maybe you and I.
Well, the barbecue would have been a good, barbecue would have been a good place to do that. But that aside, I think, and my experience is limited, but in the past, new volunteers have kind of been more personal recommendations of somebody who's already on the team, because in the past, when it got opened up, there were a lot of people that were not a good fit that volunteered. So we try to be kind of.
Those people would be specially invited, but like I said, I have 4 new walking partners that are interested, and maybe I just need to tell them about it. But I don't know if other people.
Yeah, we could.
I don't know if there's other new neighbors in our neighborhood.
I think that's probably the best thing is for you to talk to them. We might be able to have a little gathering, little coffee gathering for people who might be interested, and just offer them some ideas about what they would be getting into. But then when the time comes, then they would have to go through the training, do the paperwork and everything. So yeah, let's talk about that. We'll get together and talk about getting at least those 4 people some information.
Beverly, maybe
I think we want to generate new people, because I think our oldest lookout is 95.
Earl.
And he's determined he's going to go up there again this year. Earl is amazing and he's quite a good trainer too.
Maybe
that
the
tower
day
takes a toll on you.
Maybe the day will come
What's that?
again soon when we have community meetings and we can invite folks to community meetings. Hopefully that'll happen again soon.
Yeah, but let's look at a time, you and I can talk and look at a time when we can maybe just meet in a small group with anybody new who's interested, especially your folks.
Beverly,
I think that would be the best way to do it.
Beverly, could you include me in on that as well? Because there's some folks in Campbellsville that are interested as well.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, Beverly, Jim
Yeah, we don't want to
you mind if I
discourage
hop on there
anybody.
too?
What is that, Jim?
Yeah, Jim. So yeah, Beverly is right on par with exactly what we're hoping. The coordinator does a small kind of a group and tells people kind of what it's about. And then of course we'll have our annual meeting where we'll do the paperwork signups, and then from there they can get the training. But this is just really good. It warms my heart to hear this discussion. I'm glad we're getting some new folks in there, whether they're these young folks that are coming in or some folks that have a little bit more life experience, so to speak. Either way, it's great stuff. I'm glad to hear it and support it 100%. But we will have a preseason meeting where we'll clear up the paperwork like we always do and make sure everybody has the training. But if we could get those small groups together and kind of tell everybody what the program's all about and just make sure they're interested, that'd be great. So Beverly's right on track with exactly, she's 100% right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Pam and anybody else, I would encourage people to go on. There's a YouTube video that shows the lookout. A gentleman who's done a couple of them for different lookouts, put it on YouTube. I think it was done in 2017.
Okay.
And it's a great couple-minute video. It shows the lookout, it shows the terrain around the lookout, out the different directions. And people who watch it are kind of excited after they watch it about the idea of doing that kind of, getting up there and being part of the solution. So, you could even offer them, Pam, that to look at in the meantime, but we definitely could set something up soon just to have a little coffee clutch, and Kathy, and I'll make sure you're posted on that too.
Thanks.
Okay, that's all I have on lookout.
Great. Thanks, Beverly. Did Gary have anything from the RCD to report either?
Just that they're continuing to work on the cleanup grant. I'm not as aware of that, and that's exactly what they're meeting on right now in the other room. So I guess I'll have to do follow up later on, but it's mostly about, he would report about the grant work that they're doing on some of the private properties. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, next up is CCP, Kathy.
Yeah, hi. I will be really glad when we can meet in person again. That'll be so fun to see all your shining faces in person. CCP, a couple of things. Allison and I worked together on a PG&E Special Needs Defensible Space Grant. It's something that we've been doing since about 2015 to try to help folks that can't afford it build that defensible space around their homes. So we should hear back. PG&E's sometimes slow, but hopefully in April, by April, we'll hear something back. If not, we'll start bugging them. And as far as the Forest Biomass Business Center, there has been an update, though it has not been confirmed by the state. The state holds our EPIC grant, the California Energy Commission. COVID and supply chain really hit us hard. The cost of this plant doubled from when we initially conceived it back in 2012. So we are looking at ways to have cost savings. And it looks like what we're going to be doing is lowering the size of our plant from 5 megawatts to 3 megawatts. And the reason being is that the only sales that we can show are on that 3 megawatts of electricity to PG&E. We were hoping the other megawatt, actually probably it'll be 3.5 megawatts because you have a load for the plant itself. We were hoping that we could give electricity as an incentive to the Forest Biomass Business Center, but we still have all the wood products, and we will have off heat as an incentive for the Forest Biomass Business Center. But at this time, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to afford to build the larger size. So the plant is still going on. It is still persevering, but the cost just totally skyrocketed. We're looking at ways we can do this. It's a great project for the community. We've got a couple things in queue. Our survey work is going on right now, so we can get the land conversion permits and the timber harvest permits and all the lovely permits we need so we can sign the paperwork, on that 120 acres, which is really going to be amazing because that'll give us quite a bit of room for this forest biomass business center and any businesses that want to connect. We did get a little bit of a bite. There is a local interest looking at the possibility of a food hub and greenhouses as using that off heat from the project. So I'm still hoping that there's somebody out there that wants to build a brewery. That is such a beautiful view, and it's very close to Bullard's Bar. Anyways, that's it would be a lot of fun. There's a whole idea. There's many ideas of how you can have a co-located business. There's a lot of wood products businesses, small sawmills. I mean, you name it. If you have an idea, please reach out to me, Kathy at theccp.org. And if you can't remember that, Allison will definitely forward anything that comes our way. But right now is the time for you guys to say, hey, I'm interested in this. I was thinking about doing something and let's talk. So that's my spiel for today. We are alive and well and going on, and with any luck, as soon as the survey work is done and that land is in our name, which we're hoping will happen in the next 1 to 2 months, we will break ground and get this thing built. Darn it. Okay, that's all for me.
Kathy, this is Curtis. I had a question about the special needs grant assistance. Is that still going forward?
Well, we put in the application with PG&E earlier, I think it was late February, early March, and we haven't heard back from PG&E yet, but we are keeping our fingers crossed that we will get that grant. We're applying for nearly $100,000, enough to treat hopefully 20 homes in the area.
Wonderful. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Kathy. All right, looks like everyone else on our list. I don't see SNC here, and then the timber company folks on our list I have heard are all out on a field tour for the CCI Healthy Forest Grant. So they are not with us today, but they are out doing work on the ground. So I do know we're getting close to the top of the hour, but we have just a few things left. So Beverly, if you want to jump on in with outreach and education, we can.
Okay, thank you. We've continued to get address signs out. Still working with a couple of different groups on tow chain covers. And CAL FIRE has just been, our local guys have been wonderful about keeping us in hose, which is helpful. We've been offered, thank you, Allison, a great opportunity through the California Fire Safe Council to go to a workshop on the 29th and 30th of March on communication and outreach, which I think is just going to be dandy. It's probably, I think we're doing a pretty good job, but I think it's going to help us tighten things up a little bit as well. And particularly as we're starting to get back into possibly meeting in person. I'm anxious about that. Let's see, wildfire mitigation requests have just been booming. We had 10 since last month. We have 2 more this Saturday. We have a total of 55, the majority of them being in the Oregon House Dobbins area, which has been great to know that we're getting that area really covered. A lot of them at Lake Louise or Lake Francis, I'm sorry, Estates, which is an area that really needed that had to happen. And it's a group that's looking at becoming a fire-wise community. So we're continuing to work with the homeowners there. The matching funds for both the home hardening and the defensible space grants are now available. And we're going to Gary and I are going to familiarize ourselves with that. So as we go out and talk to people, if the purpose of their mitigation review is primarily for that, then that helps us really narrow down what they need to be looking at on their property and with their home. So that was exciting to see that that's available now. I think for right now, we're just getting ready, just kind of planning for any opportunity we can to get out and do any kind of outreach, which would be obviously Earth Day fair at Yes Charter, and then the Prepare Fair, and then any other opportunities that come up where we can put our little pop-up up and get people familiar with doing some kinds of defensible space and or home hardening work around their properties. Also, continuing to try to put an article a month in the Camptonville Courier just to spotlight something that might be happening that would be almost specific to some of the things that were in the calendar for the fire prevention, fire safety, home hardening, any of those kinds of things. But we're kind of trying to follow the calendar so that people have a reference back to it. And I guess last but not least, already starting to collect photos for next year. So, you know, Eric, and let Jason know, and all those people that are out there in the field that might be taking good pictures of the work you're doing, please save those and let me know, because we're always looking for those kinds of, particularly before and after pictures that really help define what we're looking at. You know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words because people can get lost in the details, but a good set of before and after pictures are worth their weight in terms of helping people understand what is actually going to make them more fire resilient. So any pictures that people are starting to, any work they're starting to do around their homes, their properties, their in the forests that could be used as examples, please hang on to, please feel free to take and pass my way. I would definitely appreciate it. To have those pictures to draw from for our next calendar, which even though it's only March, it's just minutes away from starting to put together. So I think that's about it, unless anybody has any questions. Okie dokie. Thank you, Allison.
Great.
And
thanks, Beverly.
Yannicka, thank you also for being so quick about getting those address signs together. I know people are really getting anxious about them. They are suddenly really wanting those signs, and having a second set of hands to put them together has been great.
Yeah. Great. All right. Thanks, Beverly. All right. So Sean had to hop off and he let me know he didn't have anything to report from the board. So that means it is time for my executive director's report, just to kind of let everyone know what we're working on over here. And again, I recognize we're 4 minutes from 11. So if anyone has to go, feel free to, but if you're able to stay, that also would be great. You know, a lot of what I was going to touch on, I think we've covered a lot of it already. Our CAL FIRE fire prevention grant that we submitted, that's for roadside clearing work in the Dobbins and Organ House area. We haven't heard back yet on that, but like Jim was talking, I think it'll be another month or two. We'll see. We're waiting patiently. Kathy mentioned the PG&E grant. Let's see. I actually, since we're so close to the top of the hour, I'm going to skip ahead. Folks have already been talking about this here too, but I do want to talk about moving back to in-person meetings. You know, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, that current official state COVID guidelines, we now have no restrictions on meeting indoors or masking, but I do want to just get a sense from this crowd on kind of what's our current comfort level or desire meeting in person again. So we did put a quick little poll together before everyone takes off. We'll launch that real quick in Zoom just to try to get a feel for where folks are at on in-person meetings. If we do move back to in-person, this would be at the Alcoof Center, and we would keep a hybrid, a Zoom call-in option. So everyone could also call in if you don't feel comfortable or aren't able to make it to the in-person meeting. So if you guys could, yeah, take a second to fill in the poll that should have popped up on your screen there. This will just kind of help inform us as we're going forward. Awesome, I'm seeing some good responses coming in. I'll give you.
I love that technical.
Allison, did I hear you say that like there would still be Zoom for people? And I'm thinking as much for our fire folks who might not be able to get in for a meeting, but from a Zoom position, they can still be part of the meeting.
Yeah, exactly. So we
Right.
yeah, we tested that with Curtis a few months ago, and so we should be able to have a call-in option for still in person. Awesome. All right, so it looks like, did we just share the results there? Perfect. We're seeing a lot of folks are excited to get back April at our next meeting. A couple for a little later. And let's see, okay. And then, yeah, a little bit more varied on the masking, but we'll take a look at this more. We'll talk it over with the board, and definitely we'll be in touch soon if we're looking at going back to in-person in like April or May, because I know folks are antsy to meet in person. We want to make sure we're being safe too. So awesome. Well, thanks for that. I have just a couple other things we'll touch on real quick. Let's see, the Brownsville Oregon Ridge fuel breaks. Those are well underway, getting operated on by CHI and SPI. I don't have an updated map right now, but CHI has reported they've completed 109 acres on Oregon Ridge, on the Oregon Ridge fuel break, and about 25 acres on Brownsville. And then SPI, I believe, is maybe a little bit less than that. But so yeah, we're getting some acres treated along those fuel breaks, and they're looking great. So maybe one of these months soon we'll have a little presentation on that, share a little more information on those fuel breaks. But those are coming along. Again, we already mentioned the home hardening and defensible space cost share programs. Those just launched, and yeah, just want to give a quick shout out to Yannicka and to Curtis for getting all that material up on the website, pushing it out through Facebook. We're really excited about those programs. 50% reimbursement up to $2,000. We're hoping that'll be a really good motivator to help people get some more home hardening and defensible space work done. So please spread the word on that program through all of your channels and networks. Let's see. Last thing I have is just oh yes, is the Community Wildfire Preparedness Day. That came across my calendar recently. That's coming up on May 7th, and Beverly, you and I can talk more about what we might want to do for that, but I wanted to put that out to the larger group also. It's I don't know what it is technically, a national holiday or day of observance or something. It's, yeah, National Community Wildfire Preparedness Day, basically encouraging people to work on reducing their wildfire risk, whether that's in working in their own yards, on their homes, or having a community work day, or just kind of generally raising awareness about wildfire safety and preparedness. So on May 7th, that's a Saturday, that is what, a week and a half or so before OES's Be Prepared Fair. So certainly we're not, we wouldn't want to do anything to reproduce that, but if there's any other kind of messaging or organizing we could help do in the community, we're open to ideas, and would love to get feedback and get maybe some collaboration going on preparing for that. Ronnie, I see your hand raised?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that you received the invitation to our pre-notice, our public discussion. It's no longer pre-notice. We actually have got the notice out for the wildfire mitigation regulations, which would require insurers to start to cover or at least acknowledge mitigation work on their homes, home hardening. The standards were developed with CAL FIRE and the fire marshal, the state fire marshal. So those are out there. The regulations themselves are pretty short to read. If you look at some of the other documents that are included in the discussion for, it's also April 13th, the same day as the next meeting for you all, but it's in the afternoon, and I expect it to be at least a 3-hour discussion. If it's anything like the pre-notice public discussion, there'll be a lot of people asking questions, weighing in, tossing around alternatives. So if anybody has alternatives, we welcome those. They are due the same day, April 13th. So if you see anything that is worth a comment, or you have a concern, please put those in writing and send them off to our attorney, Dan Wade. He's the contact person in the notice, and he's the attorney for doing substantive issues. There's other contact people if you have just other questions. It is going to be partly live for anybody that has testimony. In person in Oakland. Unfortunately, that's where our San Francisco office moved. So we have anybody that wants to show up in person could, that is going to be providing substantial comments, is invited to come to our Oakland office.
Great, thanks, Ronnie. Yeah, I don't know if you could resend that. It probably got lost in my
sure
list of emails. That'd be great.
Yeah,
and
no
we
problem.
can link to it in a minute.
Okay, very good.
Great, thanks. Did we finish on the let's see, the Community Wildfire Preparedness Day?
And on that, Allison, if you'd like, we can get
Yeah.
together and start sharing on our social media, get with our PIOs to help support that too. So
that'd be great. Yeah, thanks, John. All right. I know I kind of flew through my report. I wanted to make sure we got people out close to on time, but we did really cover a lot of it in other folks' reports. There's a lot going on, a lot more we could do, I know. So we're working on it all some form or another. So anything else before we let folks go for today? Any other final comments, announcements, anything?
I'll say well done, everybody. Great job.
Yes. I feel like it probably is a good sign that we keep running over time, because everyone is just working on so much. We have too much to talk about. So that's great.
Hope you're enjoying
Awesome.
retirement, Steve.
You bet. Headed out again on a trip tomorrow.
Oh, good for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for being here. We won't keep you any longer today, but keep up the great work. Stay in touch, and yeah, we will see you next month, we'll be in touch soon. We'll let you know about potential for in-person hybrid meetings. We will see. We'll talk it over with the board too before we make a decision. But, all right. Well, yeah, we'll let you go. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you around.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Allison. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks.